You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Steven Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey, Shaun Priest, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you? What's your plans for the weekend?
Ooh, now then. Usually I say absolutely nothing, sitting in the shed. But no, surprise, surprise. I'm going away for the weekend.
Outside?
Outside of the shed, sir.
No way.
Yeah, patronising. Okay. No, we're going away for the weekend to a 5-star hotel in Manchester, just for a break, for no other reason than, you know what, sometimes you got to treat yourself. So, yeah. And when my partner said we were going away, she makes the decisions, obviously.
Yes.
First thing I thought was, this is brilliant, because I can test out those Meta Ray-Bans for reading the room service menu, because I haven't tried that yet, and I hear so many different things about how good they perform in reading. You know, OCRing, not really that it's OCR, I don't honestly know, but I can test that out this weekend. And obviously, as well, not secondary at all, but primarily spend quality time with my better half.
I think you've left that way too late
No,
to get
I put
that
it in there. No, I'm covered.
Sorry. I know you think that covered it in the terms and conditions, but I think you lost in that one.
No,
you just be glad that
fine.
our you listen. You just be glad that our better halves don't listen to these shows. That's all I can say. No, that's great. I must admit, I'm the same. Whenever I go to a hotel or go anywhere, I mean, especially when I'm traveling alone, I often think, okay, what piece of tech can I take with me? And the one thing I always take is an Android phone. Always take an Android phone, because I think to myself,
wait, are you just ticking a tick box now as well?
No.
Are you being honest, Steven Scott?
No, maybe. But here's the thing: I like to take the Android phone because it's the only time I get a chance to properly play. You know what I mean? It's like I've got time. I'm inside a train or a plane. I'm a captive audience, and the Android people can, have with me.
Have with me.
I don't know if that's the right phrase or not, but let's just go with it. But yeah, I do like taking. Of course, my Motorola G54 that Julian was talking about the other day. It's a great little device, absolutely brilliant.
You still loving it?
I am. It's funny because he mentioned, and I didn't get a chance to mention this when he talked about it, but he mentioned there's no Gorilla Glass on there. Is it me? Is it me? Because I feel this is a much more pleasant device to swipe on. Because of course I'm not really interested in the screen. I'm interested in the swiping experience. And it feels less like a skating rink. Is that because of the quality of the glass? I say poor quality for all.
So you're saying Gorilla Glass is actually a worse experience for the swipage?
I don't know. I fear it's me on this one.
Well, actually, we don't know. It hasn't got Gorilla Glass. It's not mentioned, I think, Julian said. Right?
At that price point, I'd be surprised.
No,
I don't know if I'd be. It might be toughened glass, but maybe not that. That standard.
I'm going to say
Gorilla Glass.
I'm going to say it, Steven Scott. I'm not convinced that actually makes a huge difference. I mean, who's dropped their phone and immediately got a chip out of it or something? Does it really matter?
I must admit, I've never broken a phone screen yet. And it's not because I'm clever or smart. It's because the phone always lies face down, flat on whatever desk I'm sitting at, and that's a lot of the time.
You never stand up.
No, I mean I will say that my iPhone 15 Pro, which is sitting next to me here, it does. If you lie it flat on its front, it's very slidey. Have you noticed this? I don't know if you've got a case on yours. Very slidey. It can just. I mean, if you sit that on, say, a bedside table, what's the American word they use? Nightstand.
Oh, yes, a nightstand. Nightstand mode.
Sounds like a show. You're watching Nightstand. But
you can swipe it off, is what you're saying.
That's what's taking me 4 hours to say.
Sorry.
So I love how you just get me back on track. I love it. But no, it's really good. So there you go.
I got to say, though, a hotel room is a great place to test out tech. Because you're going in, right? What do you do when you go in
Finish the stop.
When you go into a new room, what do?
You feel around it.
You feel around it. Of course you do.
Do you do the physical mapping? Do you bump off the walls?
Yes,
find the air conditioning units?
First thing I do is find the bathroom.
The corner is.
Yes, you bang around with your cane. You walk around. You feel the corners. You walk the line. As Johnny Cash once said, you walk that perimeter.
Is that what he was talking about? I thought he was talking about prison. He was talking about finding his way around
talking about a blind man in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then look, I always use something like Seeing AI to get a description of maybe the objects in the room. Is there a coffee maker in there? Or is it just a kettle? Where's the remote control?
Oh,
Then you use short
terrible.
text to read the little card signs that are on everywhere. Maybe try and figure out that huge telephone, which they still have in there for some reason. And if it's a posh hotel, sometimes they have tablets on the side, right, for doing the same sort of thing. Never accessible, by the way, but
No, of course.
you can still, take a look and be my eyes it, get a description. I mean,
You go into a lot of effort. I just find the bed and fall asleep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know, but I'd like to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is actually. Maybe
I don't
I'm
care
just weird.
about any of that stuff. I suppose there's that moment, and it's like life level unlocked when you find something you'd never a clue. Like I go to the same hotel quite a lot when I travel. Usually the same in whatever city I go to. I tend to pick the same hotel. Just that familiarity. You know where it is. You know where you're going. Usually the rooms are mostly the same. Once you get known, they start to usually put you in the same room or at least in the same floor or whatever. So you have a sense of where things are. And you can kind of mental map. And why would you want to be mentally mapping different hotels all the time? It's all one for experience, but, I'm not interested when I'm tired and angry, which is most of the time. So, I just want to get to my bed. So, I do, but there are times, you're right, when you maybe, for whatever reason, you're looking for something, I can't find whatever it is I'm looking for here, and you call up Be My Eyes, or in my case, usually Ira. I'll give them a call, and I'll say, okay, I'm looking for this. And then they tell you, now, also next to that is whatever, right? And you go, wow. The bottles that they give you for washing in the shower, or sometimes they'll leave these little bottles next to the sink.
I put them all on my head, no matter what they are.
I don't know what they are, so I just leave them, or I take my own stuff because I never.
And
trust
OCR
what
really
that
struggles
is.
with that sort of stuff. You really need
That's
a human pair of eyes on it.
But and air conditioning. I mean, as great as it is, oftentimes it's not accessible at all. You've got no idea what on earth is going on with that, so you've got to get eyes on that. It's not like it's not possible for them to make this stuff accessible. I mean, there were trials. I think Marriott had tried various things with Lady A, also accessible apps that you could essentially control the room via an app. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, there's no. Well, listen, I was about to say there's no excuse for it, but actually, I kind of understand why, because these rooms are designed, and if you want to make something accessible and implement, it's kind of retrofitting argument, right? They should have thought about it in the first place. But with technology as it is, I think a smart speaker, smart devices in there, smart thermostats, smart TVs. There is no reason why they can't make it accessible. I've never yet had an accessible TV in a hotel room.
No, I mean
ever.
No.
I'm always stuck there with some sort of terrible music, like elevator music going on while there's some menu on the screen. And that's where you use something like, a human volunteer to say, okay, how many arrows down and enter just to get the TV on to a live channel. But yeah, there's so many inaccessible problems when it comes to a hotel.
It goes further than that, because if you go into the TV settings, as I've done before, oftentimes you get Samsung TVs in hotels, and great, I'll put on the screen reader that's built in, but it's locked. You're locked down. You can't get into the settings. Now, I kind of understand that, I suppose, but what Samsung should do, and I would put this back on them actually, is if you're creating like a hotel or a demo mode or whatever mode these TVs are put into, the locked down version, you should have a button on that remote control that essentially you hold down, and that turns on those accessibility features. That would make a lot of sense. That could apply then for anybody who buys a TV. It's very easy then to turn on the speech if you wanted it. But equally in a hotel, you'd have the functionality to turn it on regardless of the settings being locked down or not. I don't care if you can't, adjust the rate of the speech or change the voice, although in Samsung TVs, you can't. But, at least then I'd have the option to turn it on. There you go. I think I've just done some important work there for the world.
Solving problems. Yes, that's why we're here.
Entirely incidental, of course.
It could be like a keyboard shortcut. Like we've got to learn all the time. How do you turn on screen reader on an Android phone, on an iPhone, or on this particular TV?
So trying to get all the money in Grand Theft Auto, right? You've got to do up, right, left, down, square, X.
But they could do that because, funnily enough, they did say, when we said we were blind when we booked, we need assistance, maybe getting from the taxi to the reception, whatever it may be. I can't actually remember. But they sent us an email and said, we've moved you to an accessible room. and I actually had to give them a ring and say, look, I don't need an accessible room, because when they say accessible room, they mean wheelchair accessible.
Yes.
And I'm saying, look, we don't actually need that. So,
and that's actually, that can be worse for us, can't it? Because these rooms are huge. And understandably so. I mean, they need to be in the bathroom.
Of course, there's a need for them. We're not going to say...
No. But I'm saying for a blind person, that actually is not a great thing. I would say smaller rooms are better for blind people.
Exactly what I said. I said, look, to be fair, the last thing I need in a bathroom is handrails everywhere and things like that. And it can actually be trickier for me. So I don't need it. But the point being is they know I've got special accessibility needs there. They could quite easily turn a feature like that on the TV before we get there, as they prep the room.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it wouldn't necessarily be an issue where they're constantly getting guests saying, my TV, like you get with audio description. Someone's turned audio description on my TV. It keeps talking to me. How do I turn it off?
Yeah, I must admit that when I do go into like Best Buys or in the UK, Currys or John Lewis, I do love to turn on all the accessibility features.
Any Mac.
Leave all the computers talking. I think that is just so much fun. Because it's the assistants who are left to deal with it. And I think, welcome to our world for a little while. I think that's a gentle bit of fun.
Well done. Watch the chaos.
That. Yeah, exactly. Because they've no idea what's going on. It's quite amusing. Look, I want to talk about, I could talk about this all day, but I want to talk about a feature that we're kicking off this week called App of the Week.
Oh,
there you go.
No jingle then.
Well, that was kind of it, really. That was, I thought that'll do for now.
Terrible.
We're working, look, we spent all the budget on
what?
Well,
on
the
plants.
background and plants. Yeah, exactly. The plant took up quite a bit of budget, to be perfectly honest. So,
yes,
not much room left for anything else. But we have had a lot of suggestions in already. And I think my intention for this feature is for us to kind of hone in on specific apps. And what I wanted to suggest here is that if you have an app that you love, either send an email or drop us a voice note or via email, or of course you can leave us a voicemail on our phone line as well, and just tell us in about a minute what you think about this app. What's good about it? What is the app? What device are you using it on? And it could be any device. It doesn't have to be an iPhone or even an Android phone. We could be talking Windows or something maybe you're using on the Mac, or maybe even it's a Chrome OS extension or whatever. I don't know. Anything at all. It's entirely open. I'm calling it App of the Week, but really what I'm talking about here is one single thing that you love about your computer, your smartphone, one feature, one whatever, that we can put in here every single week, because I think there's lots of things out there, lots of hints and tips, and we've got a great one actually coming up next week to share with you from a good friend, Michael Babcock, something which is very simple. And again, sometimes this is the best kind of feature when you find it. Stuff that's already built into your system, you didn't even know was there, and you go, wow, I did not know it could do that. I think that kind of stuff is brilliant. So if you've got an idea, do get in touch. You can leave us a voicemail, 1-877-803-4567. That's our call-in number, and you can leave us a voicemail there. You can also, of course, drop us an email to feedback@doubletaponair.com. We are inching closer to being available on WhatsApp, but we will let you know more about that next week.
Closer and closer.
It's getting closer.
I'm getting about 1,000 WhatsApp messages as we test it out.
Test.
And then it's saying,
test. It's been more nightmarish than you would think. And I don't know why. But anyway, it seems like we're getting closer to it. So we want to just be absolutely certain everything's working. So we'll let you know next week what's happening with that. And hopefully we can get it up and running as well. And you can contribute that way. You can even send video that way as well if you choose. But we have already had some comments in because I did put out the call to people on Mastodon, but also here on the show to say, look, if you've got ideas, get in touch. Gordon was first up.
I saw your request on Mastodon and I reckon you'll be inundated with responses. There are so many great apps out there. Here are a few of mine. 1. Be My Eyes, essential for every visually impaired person. 2. Voice Vista for orientation. 3. Seeing AI for checking quick text. 4. Ira for when you need expert help. 5. Overcast for listening to podcasts. 6. Mona for browsing Mastodon. 7. Lyra for getting news. I think those are all fairly obvious, but here are some other excellent apps which are accessible. BBC Sounds is fully accessible and allows you to listen to radio or podcasts. BBC iPlayer is also fully accessible, as is the BBC Sport app, although it can be a bit clunky to navigate. I also really like Dolphin's Easy Reader, which allows access to the RNIB's Talking Books library. I'm never without a talking book on my phone. That ought to be enough to be going on with. All the best, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. And that email read, of course, by our lovely Laura, who's
amazing, Laura.
Wonderful, of course, and you'll be hearing more of her. It was funny, people have been asking if on YouTube you'd be able to watch Laura. Laura declined. She's the only sensible one around here.
But she is real.
But she exists. That. Exactly. Yes. She's not a figment of her imagination. She is not AI. She's a real human being. She has feelings.
Do you know what? That's a great list, by the way, Gordon.
That's an excellent list.
I mean, it's almost like Desert Island Dis over here in the UK. You're automatically given the complete works of Shakespeare and the Bible, right?
That's on BBC Sounds as well.
Yes, it is, yes. I mean, do you just give that as a given? Be My Eyes, Seeing AI? And should we actually go back and revisit those for people? Maybe we just assume that everyone already knows about these.
Well, that's why I want to do this. And it's exactly important why I think that is just the perfect start to this whole discussion, because this isn't, again, it's not about making a feature. It's about creating something here that we can share. We're going to put this all on the website as well, so that you can follow us, doubletaponair.com. You can go there, you can see this list, and we can put, and I definitely want Gordon's list on there. And if you have lists of emails as well, or apps, I should say, send them in. If you want to send a list of emails, that's fine too. But, I think it's just about, like you say, talking about these apps again, almost going back to basics. Because there are a lot of people, first off, new to our show, who've been joining us along the way. And, they may hear about these apps. I mean, I get emails from people, especially recently, saying, I don't use this thing called Mastodon. What is that? And it's kind of a given, isn't it? Because, again, this is the problem when people talk about things being, the blind community are all on Mastodon. No, they're not. Most people don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
So we've got to start at the beginning.
So what are we asking for here? Are we asking for suggestions of apps, or are we asking for someone to give like an overview of what an app can do when they send something in?
I just want you to tell me what you love about the app you're using, why you started using it, what it does. That's really helpful to know. You give me as much information as you want. We'll fill in the blanks. But, I think it's really important that, we hear from you on this. Because, we can go through our phones, but there are amount of times, and you know this because this is how this works. This is how this show has become, I think, as popular as it has, because it's not just about you and I. It's about the whole world coming together to say, I use this, I try this. And our inbox is full of this every single day.
It is.
And that's why it's so vital that I think we sort of open this conversation up to everybody. So if you've got an app, a feature, and by the way, there's a lot of this already. We're going to revisit some of the earlier reviews we got when we started out doing this show in the 5-day week format, because we got lots of great app reviews in there. And I want to revisit some of those because, again, it kind of allows it. And you don't have to produce a big feature. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I just want you to tell me about an app you use, what it's about, why you use it, and what you love about it. And if you don't love an app, I think you should talk about that too. If there's an app you really would love to use, but it's not accessible or you find issues with it, tell us about that too. It's not all about positivity. It's about reality. So, there are some apps that we go, I'd love to use this, or this app's great, but it only lets you get so far. Tell us about that as well. It's a complete open field. The thing about Double Tap is we welcome everybody's view. We welcome everyone's point of view on things. We obviously welcome different perspectives on conversations. That's almost a given, I think, by this point. It's essential for me, I feel, because I don't want to hear one person's view. I want to hear everyone's view. So, come on, let us know what you think, and we'll play your suggestion in. And like I say, if it's an email you send, of course, it's read for you by our lovely Laura, which is wonderful. Although we do also get audio contributions as well via the voicemail and from people attaching their voice notes to email. This message comes from Dennis.
Hi, this is Dennis Long. You had asked for apps to feature. OoTunes is an app I use almost daily.
Okay, OoTunes.
Weatherology is another good app that a lot of people may not know about.
Yep.
It has gotten a lot of improvements with VoiceOver in the past year. This team has worked their butts off to fix where they had issues in accessibility, and they really do make accessibility a priority, and I think this app is just going to get better with time. And it's really an awesome weather app, and the best part is it's free.
Oh, I love it.
And
I'm in.
with Weatherology, you can have it play forecasts from read by actual meteorologists. And you can pick who the meteorologist is that reads it. All the names are accessible. It tells you a little bit about each meteorologist. And the other nice thing about this app is you can start it in your list of favorites. I believe it allows you to have 8 or 10 favorites, but you can start it in your list of favorites and then just go to the city you want. Say you're checking for a friend because Florida is under hurricanes. Well, you can just go to Miami, Florida, tap on it, and there you go. You know, you're able to view the forecast. So it's really a nice app. And like I said, it has the whole price tag of free. OoTunes is a good app. Another good app that comes to mind is Mona for Mastodon.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
It is not free, and neither is OoTunes. OoTunes is $5. But Mona for Mastodon is powerful. It has some features I wish Windows apps would have, like being able to quote posts and stuff like that. Yep. No Windows app has that. If they came out with a Mona for Windows, I'd buy it today.
Yep.
So those are my suggestions of 3 apps that come to my brain off the top of my head. If I think of more, I will certainly call and tell you about them. Thanks.
Dennis, thank you so much. What a fantastic list. I love it. I'm loving this. This is what I want to do an app of the week. I want to focus in on this and talk about apps and cool stuff. OoTunes. I mean, I'll be honest. OoTunes.
OoTunes.
I can't say that with my accent without sounding like a complete
I call
idiot.
it OoTunes.
OoTunes. But it's OO, isn't it?
It is.
OoTunes.
All right. OoTunes. Yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about that. I've never used it. Have you?
I don't know if it's available where we live. I think that's the problem. I've never found this at all. I mean, I use it via the Victor Reader stream because it uses OoTunes for its content. So when you search for a podcast, you'll find it on, and stream as well, you'll find it on OoTunes via the Victor Reader stream. They also have TuneIn on there as well now on that device.
Are they the same? Are they comparable?
I tend to, if I'm honest, I tend to stick with OoTunes. I've not really dived into the whole TuneIn thing. Because I don't feel I really need to.
Are you saying that the other way round? You stick with TuneIn rather than OoTunes?
No. I use on the Victor Reader.
Oh, on the Victor Reader. Sorry, I'm with you. Okay.
I've never used it on the phone, so I've never tried it.
And why is?
I don't know if it's available.
Why is it with weather apps? I mean, again, thank you very much, Dennis. No disrespect. Why is everyone so obsessed with weather apps?
Well, I think we like to know what it's like outside. I think people like weather. I mean, look, I'm sorry. We come from a country where all people talk about is the weather.
I know. Well, yeah, maybe that's why I'm utterly sick of it. But, I mean, I get an alert all the time saying it's going to rain in 7.5 minutes. So, okay.
I like that. I do like that. Where do you get that from? What app do you get that from?
That's from the iOS weather app, the stock weather app.
Really?
Yes.
And you set that up as a notification?
I have no idea. I never went in and set it up. I think I must have opened the app at some point by accident. And since then, I must have allowed notifications because it's simply, it comes up all the time. Look, I get it. And to be serious for a minute, because, you know, as Dennis mentioned there are places, sadly now, where there's severe weather. Yeah. So getting alerts like that could be important, I suppose.
More important than ever, I think, in some cases, in some places for sure. And of course, Mona from Mastodon is a fantastic app. You're absolutely right. Someone was chastising me on Mastodon just the other day by not mentioning the fact that Tweezcake and TW Blue existed. I think we have mentioned that more than once on the show. But, you know, it is good to point out that there are Mastodon clients for Windows if you want to use that social network on the Windows side. But I think, and those are really good because they're built for blind people, right? They've actually been built for blind people.
Oh, a simple interface, universal system-wide controls if you want them as well. Yeah, just totally aimed at us.
I think the downside is that they're not as fully featured. And I think that's where people love Mona on iOS. And for those of us who use the Mac, of course, you get the experience on the Mac as well. I'd love to see that extend to Windows. There's certainly a lot of talk about it, at least a lot of talk about wanting it. So I'm hoping the people at Mona are listening to that and perhaps come out with it, because I think it would be great. It feels to me like in some ways, and it's like dipping my toe back into Windows again. I think, okay, so where's the app that I can easily transcribe audio? Where's the Mac Whisper equivalent or the iCo equivalent?
Yeah, why is that? It's so strange, right? There seems to be this Apple and Windows divide.
Yeah.
There are some apps that just won't cross over.
But even just decent interfaces to get access, you have to go to a website and you have to. Why? Why do I have to go to a website to do it? Why can't I just have an app on my device?
Well, websites are quite cool now, I must say, since Michael's fantastic overview of the improvements to ChatGPT website when it comes to accessibility. Fantastic, by the way. I've been using it all the time. I've set it up as an app on my desktop.
Yes.
If you use the Edge browser and you go to settings, I think it's under more, you can save a website as an app. And easy to go to. As soon as I go in there, it takes me straight to type a question, and it works amazingly well. I'm loving it now.
Listen, I know you're heading off on your long weekend, so I'm going to let you go early today. I'm kind. I'm going to let you go early.
Thank you.
Yeah, you go get ready for your nice weekend, enjoy it,
Thank you.
And come back Monday all refreshed with stories to tell about your Meta Ray-Bans and I guess eating buckets of chicken.
Yes.
But listen, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you on Monday.
Thank you very much. See you all later. Have a good weekend.
Now, for the rest of you, stick around. Great conversation coming up with a good friend of mine here on Double Tap. That's after we tell you how you can get involved in the show.
Call the Double Tappers now, 1-877-803-4567, or email us, feedback@doubletaponair.com.
Now, of course, the big conversation is all about Apple and what is coming up at its Glow Time event, which we're all very excited about. But someone who's been diving into the betas early is a longtime friend of our show, and that is Colin Hughes, who's back with us once again. Colin, great to have you back here on Double Tap with us.
Great to be back, Stephen.
I want to talk to you about your experience, because you've been diving into the betas. Why do you do that? Because I know lots of people have different reasons for diving in. Tell us why you're diving in so early. What are you looking for?
Well, the announcements are made twofold. The accessibility announcements seem to be made on Global Accessibility Day in May. So that starts to get me interested and excited. Then a few weeks later, we have WWDC, where we get a bit more. So I'm interested off the back of those, not only on the accessibility new features, but also all the other stuff that excites Apple fanboys like me. So I really, want to get involved as early as possible, try them out, comment on them, but also influence the way that they are developed over the summer by feeding back to Apple in the feedback app.
And I've got to say, that feedback is vital, isn't it? It's so vital for all of us who are interested in this stuff, who use this stuff, who are able to get involved in the beta process, either with a separate device, because we often say to people, maybe not use it on your main device unless you're really brave, because there's always that chance something might go horribly wrong. For voiceover users like me, if that goes wrong or there's a bug in there, that's meant I'm locked out of my phone. That doesn't sound good to me. So, we often say to people, okay, if you're testing it, test it on a separate device if you can, but also feedback, as you're saying. So early days, at least when you started out, you were testing this at the early start of this when the betas came out. You obviously know about some of the accessibility features that were coming, and some of them weren't present, right? Because not everything's present in the early days of the beta. Everything that's announced or talked about will come later. Of course, the most notable of which being Apple Intelligence.
But in the in the feedback process, you're absolutely right. You can influence the development of the software over the summer by feeding back. So I'll give you an example. But one of the things I campaigned for last year was the capitalization of proper nouns in voice control. And in May, Apple announced that they were coming. During the beta, initial first couple of betas, that wasn't working. So I spoke to a prominent YouTuber with a lot of followers, flagged it up to him, and he mentioned it in a video, but I followed it up in the feedback app. A week later, another beta was released and the problem was fixed. So feeding back, airing publicity on missing features, things not working properly, does lead to positive change.
Yeah, and that's it, right? And if you're not part of it, if you're not contributing in some way, you can't really complain when it doesn't work, right? Because it's like, well, if you had this great idea and you thought, wouldn't it be great if this could work or this could work better or whatever, and you don't say something, you know, what do you expect when it doesn't come along? So tell me about what you found. So I know that voice control and you have been, maybe not the best of friends, but you're trying to get along. Is that the best way to put it? You've been trying to get along. You see commonalities.
Describe it historically. Historically, it's been a fraught relationship, but we are getting there this year. We have written a lot about voice control. I've campaigned a lot around it, but this year I did predict a bit of a breakthrough with it, and I'm starting to experience the positivities.
So talk me through that then, because there were a couple of things you talked about on social media, you've been writing about, specifics. I mean, you mentioned capitalization of nouns, which, again, sounds so simple, right? When you say it out loud, you think, well, of course, but, you know, it's about being able to be professional in an email or professional in a text message or whatever it might be, or just not to make it seem like you're disregarding someone's name, which, of course, to a lot of people today means a lot, right?
That's right. It's about productivity and professionalism. You know, up until now, I would describe voice control's approach to dictation specifically as a bit childlike. And there are groups of people, professionals, with severe disabilities who are working, they're in education, and they want a grown-up tool to communicate with. And up until now, that's not been the case. If you want to send a short message, how's your day, happy birthday, it's fine. But some of us want to write long articles, education, lectures or whatever. And historically, it's just not been up to the job. So, things like capitalizing proper nouns and the words that you use day to day, if you have to constantly correct them, it's damn tiring, Yeah. You just want to get on and dictate what you want to say and move on. And until now, that's not been the case. It's been a very blunt, crude instrument. But now they've introduced the chance to store in the custom vocabulary proper nouns that you use day to day. There's now been a significant uptick in accuracy and recognition, and you feel more energized when you're dictating because you're not clearing up errors all the time, and you're more productive. It's not a panacea. There's still more to go, but it's the most positive that I've felt in several years.
Yeah, and I want to play in a little video that you shared with me. I know you've shared it on social as well, just sort of showing this in action. Let's watch this.
My cat's name is Fionic. New paragraph. My friend's name is Wotek. New paragraph. I buy microphones from Speechware.
So, there we have you just getting the chance to do something which, again, to most people outside of the disability bubble would say, well, that's pretty simple. But actually, it's hugely impactful. I mean, I know exactly how you feel. I've been dictating more these days. You and I have been chatting on email about this, my essential tremor in my left hand. The joke I continually use is, it's not essential to me, but, I have it whether I want it or not. And the reality is, it's causing me challenges in using the touch screen. It's causing me challenges with typing. And, it's kind of bringing a lot of the tools out that I wouldn't have used before, that I wouldn't have thought about, and it's kind of opened up my mind a little bit to this because, I will talk about voiceover. I will talk about low vision. I will talk about the challenges of using voiceover and the issues that go with it. But when you start diving into some of the other areas of accessibility, suddenly I begin to feel like, let's just say, a non-disabled person, frankly, because I don't know about these areas, right? When I read in about touch and assistive touch and switch control, voice control, these are things I'm aware of, but I have no idea how they work and how they would work for me. And I'm learning a lot about this. This is a big part of the conversation as well that's missing. There's a lot of us in the disability community who kind of like me, and I'm guilty of it as anybody else, of talking about what we know, and that's right. But equally, we criticize others for not understanding when sometimes we don't understand all of it, right? That's
a very good point.
We can't understand
Stephen,
everything.
Very good point. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same with, voiceover and that kind of thing. I don't know that much about that tech, but I should know more. So it works both ways, yes.
But it's not, do you know what? Here's the thing, and I think this is the bit of this. It gets so contentious as an issue. And I think actually the way to solve this is just to admit we don't know. It's okay not to know because you might never need voiceover. So why would you need to know the intricacies of it? And equally for switch control, I might never need switch control, but it's about having a conversation. And this is what this show's about. It's about saying to you, look, you come on and tell me because I don't know. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I think, and if we have, I mean, honestly, if that's the basis of every conversation, we're heading to a good place, right? We're having a conversation, we're having an open discussion. People will learn from you based on what you're talking about, because a lot of people will be using voiceover who listen to this show and will have no idea about the challenges that you're facing with voice control. You would think that's just an automatic given. And the fact that you're able to highlight that is important. It's important to us as well as to the wider public. Now,
it's a very healthy discussion.
I think so. On that point, I'm wearing my Apple Watch and its beautiful screaming yellow band that I have on my wrist at the moment. Isn't it
very
lovely?
Nice.
I don't know why I went for screaming yellow, but I did. That's not the official color, I don't think. I'm sure that's not what they call it at Apple, but that's what I call it. And it's very fetching. But here's the thing. You have written a lot about the Apple Watch, your love of it, but your irritation with it. Talk about that.
Yes, I've just written a piece for the tech publication, The Register, an opinion piece about the struggles I've had to operate the Apple Watch because of the lack of voice integration into it. To do anything on the Apple Watch, you have to be able to twist and raise your wrist. If you can do that, you can do everything that you can do on an iPhone or an iPad. But if you're like me and thousands of other people with spinal cord injury, MND, who haven't got the muscle power to perform the wrist acrobatics, to wake the screen, and then you can ask Siri a question and get something done, then the Apple Watch is, to all intents and purposes, an ornament on your wrist. So I've been sort of digging into that, looking at the reasons. It's obviously battery life. The watch is a very small device, small battery, and it always listing Siri with that wrist movement is probably historically been challenging. But I see AI coming in but machine learning using the built-in sensors and gyroscope, that I think that something could be done about this now, but nobody's talking about it. So that was the purpose of my article this week. It's just raise the issue, start a discussion, but hopefully changes will come. One of the reasons I'm campaigning on the Apple Watch in particular at the moment is it's built around personal safety and health monitoring. And I think those are two really important things. And at the moment, groups of disabled people are excluded from those features. So that's why I'm trying to get deeper voice accessibility into the Apple Watch.
Yeah, and again, it's so vital that we hear from you on this issue, because we need to know what these issues are, what these challenges are. For a lot of us, we just don't know. And that's the same in the disability community as much as it is outside. The disability community is not a monolith that just knows everything about everything. We don't know about each other's experiences. And, when in my case, the enlightenment comes, unfortunately, when another disability, in my case, something physical, comes in. You kind of wake up to that. You wake up to the realization that there are a lot of other things and actually tools that I need to learn. And I'm no means an expert, but that's why I reach out to you and say, okay, Colin, I need your help here, because, I can't figure out how to do this WhatsApp gesture to, record a voice message and do that whole double tap, hold, swipe up, lock, all this nonsense. And it's trying to find the solutions. It is incredible, though. We've been talking about this on the show for a couple of weeks. It is amazing to me there isn't a solution to that. Through a keyboard shortcut or through some kind of switch control. I even tried assistive touch.
Command,
and it kind of did it, but it doesn't work with voiceover. There's a combination issue here. You bring voiceover in, you lose focus issue, which means if you can't get the focus onto the button, yes, you can action the assistive touch, but you can't tell the assistive touch where to go with voiceover. So there's these little challenges, these little niggles along the way. And we're finding this, and I wonder if that's actually a good thing. If we find these things and we report them, then of course, as you say, change comes.
Yeah, I mean, I've already had some really interesting feedback to the Watch article, and one was from a non-disabled person who is a huge Apple Watch fan. And he basically said, I'm ashamed that I didn't know about the struggles that you have with the Apple Watch. So it really was reading the article was a real wake-up call for him. He uses the watch day in, day out, and really hadn't thought about what it means for particular groups of users.
So let's talk about, I want to talk to you about Meta Ray-Bans, because I know you've been very excited by those, as I have. I'm wearing them right now. Although mine's have a unique feature, Colin, and that is that they have got bite marks in them from my little pet dog who's been biting. So he's actually made them tactile for me. He's helped me.
That is so funny.
So cute, right? I'm told it's my memories, in quotes. Yeah, okay. It's a very expensive memory, but there we go. But they still work. They still function. That's the key. But I want to talk about them with you in a second. I want to ask you, though, about Google, because Google have been, I would say, ramping up in a big way this year. Perhaps it doesn't feel that way because all the main tech press is interested in is Apple Intelligence. But with Google, they are coming up on the inside here with Google Gemini. I know that you're an Apple guy, and I understand why, because once you've picked a side, it's sometimes hard to get away from it. And also, let's be honest, it's hard enough figuring out what we're doing with the devices we have without having to go and try out other stuff. But I know you have played around with Google in the past. Has anything you've read about, heard about from Google and Gemini interested you, considering the complications you've been having on the Apple side?
Well, I do own a Pixel 8 Pro, so I've been using Pixels for about 2 years, and I'm quite impressed with them. But ironically, they're on the accessibility side. It's a bit of a mixed picture. So you can't get as many things done by voice on a Pixel, in my opinion. But They do have one app, Android app called Project Relate, which is brilliant
Yes, yeah.
for voice dictation. The best voice dictation I've ever experienced on a mobile device. But they're not developing it. That's the disappointing thing. It's only a project to Google, and that project seems to run its course, and they're not developing it further. It's crying out for improvement.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because there's a reality, I think, with all this technology now that, when we hear about projects like this, we think, oh, well, the project's run its course. And as you've said, it seems to have run its course and that's the end of it. The reality is, though, that I guess learning is coming from that project and that is then being built into future products. So I guess what Google might say in the future is, well, okay, Project Relate was a thing that we did, but actually what it did was it helped us create a much better voice dictation system across Android. That seems to me where it is likely to go. I think that's probably where it is going to go, to be honest. The problem is we don't know that, right? So we kind of just see the project come, project go, and we think, well, that's the end of that. So, I mean, I know the same thing happened with Microsoft Soundscape on the side of Microsoft. Clearly Microsoft were trying to find ways to use this project as a way of, creating better navigation capabilities and use GPS and use all these features and then build that into something else. So when the project died, everyone thought, oh, goodness, that's what an amazing app, just gone. But actually the reality was they were developing something probably much better that will come down the line. 5 years' time, who knows?
Yeah. What I hope with Google is that they are using what they've learned about atypical speech, people's different ways of, pronouncing things, particularly people with severely impaired speech, and that learning is making it into their mainstream voice products. That's my hope.
Okay, let's talk Meta Ray-Bans because they are very cool. I mean, despite mine having holes in them, they are still excellent. What have you been doing with yours? That's the question I think everybody wants to ask nowadays. What have you been doing with yours?
I absolutely love them, Stephen. I've lived through old Polaroid cameras, the smartphone camera age, through the 2000s. And until now, I've not been able to document my life and share it with friends. Never. So I've been out this summer visiting places, taking photographs and videos with them, and instantly sharing them on Instagram, by WhatsApp, with just a voice command. I don't need to touch the phone, don't need to touch the glasses themselves. I just give a voice command to take a photo, take a video, and share it with Steven or whoever.
Yeah.
So it's been a game changer, a real game changer.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I feel it's interesting. I'm taking more pictures now than I ever took, video certainly, because I feel at least I know I'm pointing the camera at something if my head's held up, right? So I know the video is being taken of something. It's not always 100%, but at least it's better than nothing. And, one of the other things about this, which I love, I don't know if you've had the chance to experience it, is the spatial audio feature. So when you're recording, it's using the camera or the microphone, I should say, on both sides of the glasses, and it's actually creating a beautiful soundscape as well. So you get so much more richness from the videos.
I think that must be wonderful for you. It really must. But I picked up on it as well, listening back. You're in the moment.
Well, exactly. That's it. You're back there. So if you were on a beach or you were, in a place and you hear people talking, it takes you right back to that holiday. And we haven't done it yet, but my wife and I are planning to put all the videos we've recorded together from our recent holiday. And we're going to put them all together and just sit and listen to them. And it sounds mad to some people when you say that. It's like, really? But yeah, because I'm going to get so much out of that. And it will be like we are there again. We did, for example, dog sledding when we were in Canada. Sorry, not in Canada, Alaska, I should say. And we did dog sledding for a day. And it was incredible. And being able to record that, I kept thinking, first off, I'm able to be in the moment, which I think a lot of people lose when they're taking video with their phones. They're holding their phones up all the time and staring at a screen rather than the world around them. I think, I actually feel sorry for them because I can actually enjoy the moment and forget that I'm actually recording the whole thing. So I can really have fun. And then I'm
Yeah.
able to sit back that night and enjoy those videos. But also with images now, and of course AI as well, I can have those images described back to me. So I'm suddenly having much more interest in images than I ever had before, which is, I mean, again, how cool is it that both of us who you couldn't physically do it and I couldn't visually see it.
No.
Now we both can do both.
Meta, in my opinion, is not celebrating this at all. Not
I
enough.
agree. Yeah,
Not at
I
all.
agree.
But it really should. It's got something special on its hands, and it's not celebrating it. That's a bit disappointing.
Well, we've got the Meta Connect event coming up mid-September, and I guess I am really keen to see what they do with all of this. AR seems to be the next big thing for them. So augmented reality being built into some kind of potential new glasses. Obviously, virtual reality will continue to be the main focus of their events because that, I guess, is their driving force towards the workplace and to gamers and all of that stuff. How popular that is in reality, I don't know. I'm not saying that Meta Ray-Bans are more popular than VR, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they were because they seem to be more mainstreamed. Do you know what I mean? More people are likely to go out and buy a pair of smart sunglasses so they can take pictures and record videos than I would imagine are going to be sitting down or standing up playing video games. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think there's going to be an impetus or a bigger impetus on the glasses going forward. Now, what would you want to see from Meta this year, do you think?
One of the things I'd really like, but it's really simple, is a do not disturb voice command. Because I really like the reading out of messages, WhatsApp messages, SMS, Facebook Messenger. I feel I'm really connected. I don't need to do anything with my hands and arms, but I get these messages read out to me. However, they can be a bit loud and other people can hear them. So for today, for example, talking to you, I've taken off the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses because of the potential to interrupt. If I had a simple voice command, but I go into a meeting that says, "Hey Meta, turn on Do Not Disturb," that would be a godsend. So I'd like them to consider that. But you know, one of my nightmares is that for some reason Meta might roll back on some of these features like reading out messages and that kind of thing. Because not everybody likes that feature.
Yeah.
Some people find it irritating. But for me, it's indispensable. It's why I love them. So, yeah, turn on Do Not Disturb voice command would be excellent.
You know, like you say, we're not asking for a lot here. The work has been done. But you know what? If you don't have disabled people in your company, people don't hear about this. They don't know. And they end up relying on shows like this and people like this. But it shouldn't be down to you and I having to have this conversation. There could be people in the organization who could be having these conversations. Employ more disabled people. I'll keep saying it till I die.
I think that's a huge part of the problem.
Yeah.
Is that there aren't enough people with lived experience in these companies. So it's down to people like you and me and others to just constantly advocate and lobby.
Yeah, and not bring people in a focus group and give them a cup of tea and a biscuit and say, you know, right, on your way after half an hour. Actually pay people. Give people what they deserve. We need to see our value realized in money. Money, Colin. That's what we want.
Yes.
Because that then talks. If they've got to put their hand in their pocket, they're going to listen.
I completely agree with you. And it's like that in so many areas of life. But I think tech is so important because it's transformative. Mm-hmm. It allows a person to work, to learn. It can change lives.
Apple event's coming up, of course, very soon. What would be the one thing? I mean, I know we're not going to hear much about accessibility at this event, if at all, right? We kind of know that. That's how it works. We get our moment. Global Accessibility Awareness Day. We hear roughly, what's going to happen, and then we, maybe get the odd mention at an event. But this is going to be about hardware. So, what's your want this year, if any, from the Apple event?
I mean, I'd love an Apple Watch that I can actually use. So, I think my advocacy on this has come too late for this year. So, but I will be watching closely the Apple Watch Ultra 3 and the Watch 10. It's 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what transpires with that. I always like the iPhone. I'm a huge fan. So I want to know what iPhone 16 feels like in the hand. What it's like to touch, how fast it is compared to the 15. I think we're going to wait for the AI a bit to at least October, and I don't know how it's going to work in the UK yet. It's not going to be available in Europe, but we're out of Europe, so I'm wondering what it'll mean for UK users and how long they will have to wait to use the AI. So yeah, that's what I'm looking out for.
Colin, it's always great to talk to you. Keep up the amazing stuff you do, and just keep banging the drum. We'll do our bit here to amplify your voice, and hopefully companies listen.
Thanks, Steven. That's what we'll do.
And that's it for today. Don't forget, we're back on Monday, our next episode Monday, here on AMI Audio Podcast and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll catch you again next time.